Welcome to the 2 Cents. Once again, I'm Brand.
And this Armand. What's going on, you guys?
The brother's back in the building, man. Y'all know what it is, man. We took some time off. You know, life happens. Armand been working, I've been working. And we just, trying to get ourselves in firm position moving forward. So we felt we had to drop something to let you guys know we still here, we still out here. And we want to talk a little bit about this election and a little bit of, what's been going on, current events, things of that nature, man. But we got Zoe in the building with us. You know what I mean?
Always a pleasure with these brothers right here. Just, gonna chop it up, do what we do.
Good to have you, man. Good to have you.
Always a pleasure.
And I mean, we got Armand in the building in the flesh for the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, it's good to be here physically instead of being on the phone driving or sitting on the phone in my room. Doing a podcast. Now I'm here. We in the studio, so we good.
That's it. We in the lounge, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, without further ado, we just want to get everybody's opinions on. We all know the results of our election, the 2016 election this year. So I just want to, get everybody's opinion on your initial thoughts, when the election was finally over.
I'll go first with it. I can't say I'm truly surprised. I still thought that Hillary was going to win ultimately, but I thought it was going to be a reverse situation as far as the electoral votes go. But can't say I'm really surprised. I mean, this shows to me, and how I always felt that the perception of race in America, the perception of, the viewpoints and what we see, and as far as having somebody with his, with the rhetoric that he was spewing, and people were just eating it up. Especially when we had the quote-unquote post-racial era that they try to tell us, feed us, when Obama became president. And I told my grandma, and this was like years before this even occurred now, but like, the viewpoints haven't changed. It just came more underground. It wasn't completely correct anymore, because then you were shunned and then you were pushed to the side. But now you have somebody that said, you have people at this point who haven't voted since like the 60s and 70s who said vote now because I have somebody who speaks my language. I have somebody who speaks for me now. Mm-hmm. I've been forgotten about it, but here's somebody I can champion around. And essentially that's exactly, what happened. I mean, I was joking with you earlier, I went to the gym Tuesday, I voted or whatever, but I'm like, this is going to be a given that Hillary's going to win, because no way in hell that you're going to have somebody with no political experience on any level whatsoever be the president. Mm-hmm. Around 11 o'clock, I'm looking at the electoral votes. I'm like, something's wrong. Something's wrong, because around 7 o'clock, it was showing like, I think it was like 17-6. I'm like, well, this first couple states, whatever. Mm-hmm. But once you saw Pennsylvania turn around, once you saw he got Florida and Ohio, it was like, okay, here's states that she was supposed to get. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what was disturbing, and what
Wisconsin,
I tried to argue,
she didn't even get Wisconsin.
No, she didn't get Wisconsin either. Yeah. But what was most the disturbing thing was, and this was our older generation now. All us being of African descent. It's like, okay, my grandma was like, well, we didn't show up the way we were supposed to show out to support Hillary. And it's like, every black man, woman could have voted, and it still would have been the same result. What hurt you was white female voters. You already made the assumption that she had white female voters when the majority of white female voters voted for Trump, which to me was the most disturbing thing more than anything. Just for the stuff that he even said about women over time and even recently, that so that white women like, oh well, we're still down with Trump. You know what I mean? And it's just a gap, and it's just something's missing. You know what I mean? It's like a bad movie. You're like, this is never going to happen. This is a movie. This is a plot. But this is our reality. Like, we're really going to have a reality show for 4 years, essentially.
Well, we're going to get into that. But, what's your initial thoughts?
I was shocked. If I was betting, I would have lost a lot of money if I was betting that he was going to win. But I look at it, I blame some of the current politicians in like a lot of these cities, and to even let him get to this level where he could run and win. Yeah, I don't blame him, because I think he conned the system. I think he knew he played it. A lot of people that voted for him. Mm-hmm. He got a lot of people he tapped into a vein where he know people was like, all right, they don't like this is what I'm going to talk about. They don't like immigration. But I don't even think he thought he was going to win. If you ever look at him when he was in the Oval Office with Obama. He looked very uncomfortable, scared. He looked like
for the first time.
How the hell did I win this thing?
Reality sinking in.
Yeah, he was like, yo, now I got to go actually do this. I actually won.
Right.
And so I know he was like just doing it just to like, oh, I'm just gonna do this, and I ain't gonna win. I'm just gonna talk about it. I'm gonna make this is my bucket list. I'm gonna make this a mockery of the system.
Right.
And he won. And so I'm not mad at him. It's just the people that some of his supporters are hypocrites.
Yeah.
Especially some of the Republican ones that I know.
Yeah.
You know, that always said, oh, we're for strong families and limited government. And they always was critical of people that didn't come from strong families. It was like 2-parent home, stay together, watch the kids, but he didn't have that. Yeah. They was critical of Michelle Obama showing her shoulders. They look at her, she's not what a first lady should be. Right. But they on their knees for him. Yeah. And not saying a word about who she was. Yeah. Or who Melania Trump is and how she dresses. Yeah. So it's just a double standard, you know. And anybody say it's not a double standard, they living on another planet. But, you know, I don't know. There's a narrative that they say people scared. Nobody's scared. We're not scared of this administration. Nobody moving. I'm not moving. I'm not going to another country. Right. I'm here every day.
No Congo for you, huh?
Walking with authority and talking with authority. Like, all right, yeah, you do what you got to do. But we're going to keep on doing what we're supposed to do. We're going to keep on trying to get better, unite our country, and also make people that are disenfranchised feel more comfortable and fight for their rights. African Americans, Muslims, you know, immigrants, and people that's so we're not fazed by that. Now, the media is pushing that agenda that everybody's scared. Nobody's scared. Yeah. Be good.
Yeah, for me, like Zoe, I felt like, I thought Hillary had it pretty much on lock as well. My initial thoughts was like, because I work in high schools, and my initial impact was just like, man, how are the kids gonna feel? Like, how are the kids gonna react to this? And what does the message say? And like, our bar really kind of just got lowered when you look at who our first lady is now. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's like, maybe this will change some things later on. Not this year, not the next year. But maybe, like Joel Embiid had a tweet. He said that America is tanking just like the Sixers, and jokingly. Yeah. But like, maybe this is what we need to do. Maybe we just need to tank and just destroy and rebuild. Because like this is laughable at this point.
Mm-hmm. It's a low point.
It's a low point. Yeah. So maybe we just need to because I think like if Hillary would have won, if we would have been like, okay,
go along and get along.
Right.
Same old.
We've seen this before. Mm-hmm. It won't get too low, but we're not gonna get high as far as achievements in our country. And so I think a lot of people wanted just to see what Trump gonna do. Yeah. A new face, a new experience. Yeah. So my initial thoughts are just like the impact on children, young people, and I, for the most part, it hasn't been good. What I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Like my one friend, Christine, she was already put up stuff like because she teaches ESL, so just having the kids come in and their reactions like, am I not good enough? And especially when you see on the news people, kids in high school saying build a wall, you going back to Mexico now, and it's like it's just hateful, and this what's happening right now, this the mindset, it's like the divide. Even when you look at the popular vote, it was still that not much of a difference,
right?
So it's very divided as far as a disconnect on how we see one thing here, how somebody sees on the opposite end, but to such extremes at this point,
right? I mean, he may not even make it 4 years, man. Honestly.
You don't think so?
Listen, I hope he does because I don't want Pence running the show.
Oh, man.
Quite honestly,
that's a good point.
That's from some of the stuff I read up on him over time. To see how he's been doing stuff in Indiana. He'll be worse than what we have right now with Trump, and as bad as that might sound, but
I mean, it's always the option of impeachment.
But the vice president takes over. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So do you want Pence to be your president?
No.
Exactly. So, for all intents and purposes, we need him to rock out for 4 years and
hopefully
re-examine.
Hopefully, with Trump, the Senate and the House will carry him to the point where he's not really. Yeah. He don't have to do too much. And
that's what it looks like how he's trying to shape it up right now, at least as far as what he wants to do. But
he's already falling back with all this stuff. Let's spend a little time with Hillary because a lot of people are talking about Trump, but we got to be fair. I mean, no one can win without someone losing.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like Hillary, we gotta point the spotlight on her too. You know what I mean? So what are y'all thoughts about her and how the way she ran her campaign?
Well, for one, I mean, I wasn't for Hillary. I mean, by default, where we had two choices at this point, but I was as far as the Democratic side of things, to me, it always should have been Bernie running against Trump. That was just my personal opinion, personal belief. But especially when you started to see how the Democratic National Committee, sham him from the get-go, and it's like looking back at it now, it's almost like we look at all the testing polls prior to Hillary running against Trump. She was almost in a losing status, almost in almost every scenario. Regardless who was the Republican candidate versus Bernie, he was pretty much shown to win. And if we're talking about younger people, we're talking about the millennials and everything else, he was able to reach to that voice, to reach out to the people who felt voiceless, around our age group and younger. And, to have him pretty much push to the wayside, and then you taking somebody, for all intents and purposes, some people view it as an elitist, as somebody who just plays the game. I'll say the right things to say for this group, and I'll say the right things to this group. A true politician by all sense of the term. But when you have somebody with the enigma of Donald Trump and how he was such a polarizing figure, the only way you can match that is with somebody like a Bernie Sanders. Right. To me, it was almost like she was too political in the sense that you don't want to have, like, we already had another Bush. Do we want to have another Clinton?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I almost look at it as almost like a monarchy. Like, do you want to have that same lineage keeps running the same thing over and over again? So even people who were Democrats who voted for Trump, it was like probably looking like, I don't want to have the same thing over again, because they could have been like, well, Bill might still be running the show, and she's just a puppet for Bill. Right. You know what I mean? It's quite possible.
Right.
I
think Hillary might have been the most unqualified candidate we've ever seen to run the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think she was just, there's a lot of it is her fault. She wasn't authentic. You got them emails we heard she's talking to those Wall Street people who said, like, well, every politician says something in private that they don't say.
Yeah.
Once you say that, people are like, yo, they lose. Once you lose your trust and your people trusting you when you're a politician, it's like, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
I kind of knew it. I didn't think he would win. I didn't think that people would fall for that entertainment. I didn't think that. I was like, all right, I knew she was flawed, but I still didn't think they would fall for his. I knew this was like, we were saying this all the time.
Yeah.
He just talking. That's why I never really got offended. He's just talking.
Right,
He's politicking the people that are angry, the people that's on the lower level of society, intellectually, financially, in some areas, and he's talking to their emotions.
Right.
He's a billionaire from Manhattan, from Brooklyn. He doesn't have nothing in common with, or anything in common with anybody from Alabama or somebody from West Virginia. He doesn't understand their life.
Yeah.
He knows that. They don't know that.
Yeah.
And so when they were so supporting him and so die hard, I'm like, yo, he doesn't stand for what the average Republican stands for. He's not a Republican.
He's not a Republican, yeah.
And you are on your knees like he is the second coming.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you a hypocrite. So you not really about, you a fraud.
Yeah.
Right.
Democrats, y'all fraud. So I'm thinking like this whole political system is fraudulent to me.
Even 5 years ago, he was a Democrat. He said he was a Democrat. He said, spoke up good about Hillary and everybody else. And it's like,
and what I don't get is some of these Democrats who are kind of now pussyfooting around the issue of, oh, we're going to work with him, we're going to support him. Yeah. Like, I was like, hold up. Like, we got to give him a chance. Dwight Evans said that. Dwight Evans said we got to get over it.
Yeah.
Now, 2008, when Obama won, I didn't hear not one elected official in the Republican Party said, we got to get over it. Mm-hmm. We got to see it. They met that night at an emergency meeting in a hotel.
Like, how can we
we got to shut him down. He's a one-term president. Anything he do, we're blocking it.
Yeah, right.
Why all these, Michael Moore said, he was like, we got to fight and resist them.
Yeah.
Tooth and nail, everything he tried to do. Another person said, I forgot who else said, I think Harry Reid also said it. But you had some like black politicians that was like, no, we're going to see people. I'm like, well, what is this? Mm-hmm. They didn't give you the same fair shake.
Yeah, right. So why are you
giving him the fair shake? Like, and if you believe it, you see all these people out in the streets protesting. wherever side.